Okay, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everybody who's joining us from around the world today. Good number of you online, so we'll look forward to answering your questions as we get through today. My name's Stephen Ball, and I'm going to be your kind of host for today. And we're going to be looking at how we can unlock the power of Yellowfin integration with BMC Helix. We've got some really exciting updates to be able to share with you. This is pretty new. We've got it running out with a couple of customers already, but this is really kind of the next evolution through for how you can connect and work with what was smart reporting and the full Yellowfin product within BMC. Okay, so as I say, my name's Stephen Ball, and joining me online as well today is Robert Jones. Hi, Robert.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, everyone.
So between us, we're going to be kind of giving you the overview of the new stuff, what's around, a little bit of the background and history, and then ultimately just being able to get through to the latest kind of things. So as I say, we'll start off with a bit of background. Really where we want to spend a good chunk of the time really is around the new integrations. So you can see exactly how you can move forward with your existing reports and dashboards that you've created through smart reporting, and how obviously smart reporting is Yellowfin, how that can be moved into the latest version of Yellowfin, and you can work with that today on your on-prem version, but also how it's ready for the BMC cloud as well if you want to move to the cloud in the future as well. So some pretty cool stuff to show. Once we've had a look at the integration stuff, we'll talk about the upgrade pathing, what that kind of looks like. Luckily, it's a path that's been well trodden, so we can take you through how easy that is. And then at the end, Rob's going to show you a couple of cool demos of some of the new stuff that's around in Yellowfin 9 that you'd be able to get access to today by upgrading your smart reporting to the full Yellowfin version. So yeah, let's get straight into the background really. So as most of you, I'm assuming, are BMC customers, have been using BMC for a while, will know that there's a great module in there called Smart Reporting. This is a version of Yellowfin that's been white labeled and been deployed out by BMC for a number of years now. I think it's about 7 years that it's been around and integrated through since ITSM Suite 9. Now, this is an OEM license. So what this means is that it's got a slight limitation to what it's providing because it is provided specifically to do a module for BMC. And one of the great things is that by upgrading to the full Yellowfin version, we are able to take the handbrake off. We're able to take you from where you are today, but start opening up the options for additional data sources and to some of the new and additional features that are in Yellowfin. So the great thing here is that this has been built on using the Yellowfin API. So the integration that exists today for BMC, for smart reporting, is exactly the same integration that's required for using the full Yellowfin version. Just like if you to load balance or move smart reporting onto a separate server and just point it to a different place, you can do pretty much the same thing and have it talking to a new version of Yellowfin. The API is exactly the same because it's the same product. So we can rapidly kind of get you there and get you moved up in a very low risk manner as well. But then obviously, one of the things that we know is that BMC is now looking at moving to kind of end of life smart reporting. Now, originally this was scheduled for April 22. It was then pushed back to December, and then actually now the date has been pushed all the way back to the end of April, so next year. So there's still quite a bit of time. BMC are kind of heavily pushing migration to the Helix dashboards, which is run by Grafana. We know from the forums and from a lot of what you guys are saying is that this is quite a nightmare in terms of being able to move forward. A lot of the export options are basically just providing out the SQL that's being used for a report, and you have to rebuild a lot of stuff from scratch. A number of options around filters and exports and the whole security, and especially around the data governance, is lacking in terms of the coverage that a full BI product like Yellowfin can provide. So this is a challenge, and I know it's preventing a number of customers being able to move forward because their workflows and their business processes rely heavily on what smart reporting has been providing. So the great thing is we can cover you here. As I say, the API for the current version is exactly the same, but also for the future, we have even deeper integration with BMC Helix than has been available for the BMC Remedy systems to date. And that's really kind of where I want to kind of get into now. On top of that, obviously, you're getting an additional 2 years worth of innovations, which I know Rob's going to show you a couple of really cool things on later on. So really, before I just kind of get into the demo, I just wanted to kind of highlight very quickly what we're going to look at. So the new versions of BMC have an area called Innovation Studio that's available to you. Within Innovation Studio, it's possible to create additional bricks or components that you can use to extend the functionality of BMC Helix. And this is basically what we have done with the Yellowfin API. We have taken the Yellowfin API, we have wrapped up the kind of the key authentication elements for creating users, updating users, for getting a list of the users' reports, so we can actually find out what your favorite reports in Yellowfin are, and then actually provide a list of those to you inside BMC Helix, so you can actually see your favorite reports and click and go directly to them, saving you time and key presses, and additionally opening up the options to do even further integration and bringing specific reports and dashboards directly into your workflows and your screens that you have within Innovation Studio. So there's some great capabilities here. So let's basically get in and have a look at some of this. So I need to just set my screen to share here. So it looks like you can see my screen here. This is my local BMC Helix Innovation Studio sandbox. So I'm just connected across my network to my local credentials here. And I'm just going to, let's just do this here, log in. And as I log in into Innovation Studio, we can see a number of workspaces. Now, workspaces are what BMC are using to provide the core functionality and that they provide to you to be able to build out and expand and customize your work. What we have done is we've created two libraries here for you. Workspaces. The first one's a library, and the second one's an application that uses that library. And the reason we've done this approach is because we want to provide you with all those building blocks, those bricks that we've been talking about. But also, we don't want to define how you have to use them. We'll give you an example of how to use them. We'll provide you with a number of processes to help you get up and going with the core functionality very quickly. But how you link that into your application and into your screens and into your workflows is very much down to you. And it's pretty straightforward to do as well. So let's start off with the actual library, the connector. The connector itself is, say, pretty dumb. It's just got the extra building blocks that we add in. So by loading the library in, it allows you to start building processes and rules with these additional components. So you can see here, we've got a whole load of them here. So if we drop one down here, this is to add the current user into Yellowfin. And here we've got an input map. So we have to say, right, where's our Yellowfin server? Provide it with the access token that we've got, provide it with the user role that we want to provide this user, and we tell it which ID field that we want to use. So some basic inputs, and then we get an output coming out the other end of it. We've also got one here to find out if the current user exists, to get the reports, to get user roles, to get the login tokens, the access tokens. So these are all here ready to use. Let's exit here without saving. A couple of the key things here is obviously about providing back the user roles that we want to use, and also be able to define the list of the reports to pull back. So the only thing that is included with the library here is just some documents. And these are the way that BMC Helix Innovation Studio helps map data from the libraries back into the main application. And this is just a basic JSON document. So you can come in here and you can see the different field names that are available. There's an example of what the data would look like on the right-hand side. But the key field mappings are the part that's just here. And it's a single example. And then from this, it's able to then provide a mapping to the objects that are coming back and allow you access to them. So that's the basic bits in terms of what the library is doing. But really, how we bring that library to life is through the application layer. So the example application here, we've got a few records, one for storing the server settings, one for caching the user roles, and one for caching the reports. So let's have a quick look at the server settings. Here we've just created a number of fields. And it's up to you how you define this and do it. If you just want to hard code it in, you can go ahead and do that. We've actually taken the approach here of providing a record, because then when we look at the future, you may want to have to do load testing, or you may want to have a specific separate reporting server for a certain area of the business compared to another one. You can set up different reporting servers through here that you can then define out based on the user which one they get directed to. And this is great for testing as well, user acceptance testing and migration of content in the future. So this is all quite a sensible approach. And then the values that are in here are then called by a process to set up what we're going to give for each user. So for example, we have one in here to get the connection settings. So this just as a query by record against the Yellowfin server settings. And this is just pulling back the active record. You can define based on the user which one you want to pull back or anything. As I say, this is just an example. So we're going to bring back the active one. And we then do a little bit of mapping about which field's going to be used. And if we need to append the org ID, this is all different variances around how the user IDs are mapped between BMC and smart reporting at the moment. So we have this logic built in here. And then the output from this is the user ID, the login ID, the password that we're going to use, the URL, the ID field, and the API URL. And this allows additional mapping through the BMC cloud back to local network as well, which we actually have running with a large US customer at the moment, where they've got part of it up hosted on the cloud, part of it hosted locally, and we've got all that mapping working through. So able to deal with quite a few complex scenarios. But that call to get the server settings is then able to provide back and is used by a number of these other processes. So for example, if we get a single sign-on login token, or actually let's get an admin access token here. So here, this process is actually being called internally here to bring that data back. So that's pretty cool. Oh, I accidentally removed that. Let's not save changes. And then with the data that's brought back, we're then able to call the other, map the values that have been pulled back to the values that we need for the blocks that we created. So we're able to get the refresh token, call the access token, and then set the token that we need. So this basic setup in the back end then allows us to do things like getting here to the single sign-on URLs. So the process here for the single sign-on URLs calls the process to get the credentials, and we're then able to use the data that's come back from that to start building up the URL that we want to connect into, and also the entry point that we want to connect into. And this allows us to start mapping and doing more than has ever been done before, where we can actually go directly to the area for creating reports, if you have access to do so, creating and browsing sections, using signals, looking at timelines, which is a really nice new feature that allows you to see the reports and how often you've run them over time and looking at the data that's pulled back over time and so on, that kind of stuff. These all become possible because of the processes that are here. So how are these processes used? Well, quite simply, we've got an example here. So this is one just to log in. This is to do a normal login. This is just an action button that's been dragged in. And the action button then has a set of actions. And the first action we do is to launch a process to get that single sign-on URL. We wait for that to finish, which takes a few tenths of a second. And then the output from that, we're then able to say, okay, we've run this. We've seen all these variables that have been created, building up the whole sign-on URL. We just select the one that we want, choose OK, and that button will now work to log us directly in there. And so we've got one for there, one for going into timelines. Again, exactly the same thing. The only difference is the launch process is set to the timelines variable. So let's preview this page. And here, let's just click on timelines. And here we can see we're straight into the timelines features within Yellowfin. So we can see and have a look at the reports over time, different items that have been run, and so on. And if we come back here, let's just go and log straight into Yellowfin, to the main dashboard. Okay, in we come, nice and quick. And from here, we can kind of drill through and kind of drill down into the media and start looking at all the extra features and capabilities and getting things explained and all that kind of side of things. And the other thing that you'll notice here, we've got this list of user reports. So we have another process to sync the user reports in. It stores them in a table. We've got this filtered to favorites. In fact, I can take the filter off and you can see all the reports from Yellowfin. So let's go and reapply that filter. And let's jump directly to an agency sales by profitability report. So this is direct access from BMC, from Helix, to specific reports with your favorite reports for that user cached and available directly from here. As I say, we've got other processes for syncing users, removing users. These basic procedures are all here. You can build them and do whatever you want to do with them. But that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's jump back to our slides. And hopefully should be seeing the slide again now. So let's have a look at the upgrade journey. So the key thing here really is that this is a path well trodden. We are literally taking an example, a copy of Yellowfin 8, which most of you call smart reporting, but we're taking a copy of Yellowfin 8. We're running an upgrade process that we have tried and tested over the last 2 and a bit years to bring it up to the latest version of Yellowfin 9, and then we're setting that version active. So the process that we would take and we'd recommend ensures that you have near zero downtime. It ensures there's no risk to the business and there's no issues if anything goes wrong at any point. For example, you have a server crash or a power crash, halfway through the upgrade or something. So what we do is we take a copy of your existing system. We then run through that to do an upgrade and apply the upgrade onto it. And one of the things that we actually do before we start the migration is we have a number of reports that we can actually run to help you identify the key reports and dashboards that you want to use as your sign-off for your user acceptance testing of the upgrade. And that helps you also identify things that may be sat in your system that you want to remove that have been there for a long time. So it's quite a useful way to do a cleanup. But what we're able to do here is get to the end of this, do your acceptance testing, and then also set the system live. So that's pretty much it. It's really straightforward and a path well trodden. So really, before we kind of carry on, why upgrade? No disruption. We're talking about no disruption to your business here. It is straightforward. It de-risks the whole process that you're having to go through at the moment. It makes much higher levels of user satisfaction and makes it very easy for the business to carry on as it is. One of the key things that we're going to talk a little bit about with Rob is about governance. And data governance is a really, really important thing. And one of the key issues at the moment is how we can start making sure that you can keep control over the data, keep the data in your systems, and make sure that you can move forward in a way that is appropriate. We don't want you to have to export excess amounts of data where you don't need to, and start having that data come outside the controls of your systems. Even when you're trying to put stuff together for reports, if you don't need to export it into Excel and then make sure that you're kind of keeping track of different sorts of data and bringing it together into charts that you then put into board presentations or whatever, it's much safer not to have to do that. And that's really where having multiple data sources, first and foremost, you can bring some of that data directly into your reports and dashboards and make life a lot quicker in the first place. And where you do need to bring that data together to present and to share with the rest of the company and the organization, Yellowfin Presents is a brilliant way to be able to click, drag, drop, and present, and to actually have that fully integrated through, with all of that control around it. It saves huge amounts of time, huge amounts of stress, and just makes the whole data governance a lot easier and simpler. And this is a great extension beyond stories and the way that you can talk and share about data, and bringing these multiple data sources and also the extra governance stuff around is very, very powerful. And one of the things that's really quite powerful as well is as you move to a full version of Yellowfin, you then start getting access to be able to embed this into other systems that you've got running within your organization. They can start sharing the same data, even your BMC data, inside your inside what you're doing in other applications. And you can also start doing things like linking directly from Yellowfin directly across to the other systems. We have action buttons within Yellowfin that allow you to integrate and bring your current application or the application you're working on as a direct link from the reports that you're working on. For example, we have one HR company who have their HR system that's running. They then got their BMC instance that's running, and from the reports they're able to actually have a live link to the HR system, to that customer record, to actually completely reduce down the amount of time it takes to go from problem to seeing the full detail of the data they need and back to where they are. So these types of things are immensely valuable. And the other thing I will say is we mentioned a little about Grafana. There's some great use cases for Grafana. There's no reason to choose one or the other. What we're saying here is that Yellowfin provides a whole load more than the Grafana does in what it offers, but there's still times that just some basic things could be done quite well through Grafana. So if that's the case, you can still use that through BMC where appropriate and provide that with access to users. The great thing is with the components we have here, you've got the choice about what you use when you use it. And additionally, where you do need to do reporting and provide access to data outside of BMC, you've got the access to do that because you've got the full access to any user being able to log in, which in sometimes can actually help save license costs for BMC where people only just need to log in for reporting. So anyway, I think that's probably enough from me. What I really want to do now is hand over to Rob so he can talk a little bit about the kind of new fun stuff that's in Yellowfin 9 that's going to really help you with that governance side of things that we've been talking about. Rob.
Hi, everyone. Nice to talk to you. Good. Thanks, Stephen. Lots of good stuff there. Obviously, we've got a fairly short session today, so just give you a flavour of some of those new bits of new functionality that Stephen's been trailing there. But I've got a little demonstration I'd like to walk you through, which will hopefully give you an idea of how some of those components hang together. I'm just going to start showing my screen. Hold on a second. There we go. So we'll just log into Yellowfin. This is not an integrated instance of Yellowfin. The purpose here is just to show you the functionality of Yellowfin rather than the integration which Stephen was just showing you. So this is multi-tenancy, logging into, in this case, the default instance. And get that out of the way. So what we're looking at to start with is a little demonstration dashboard. It's not using data from BMC in this case. It's a generic ITSM demo. But really the purpose of this is to give you a flavor of some of the new functionality that's available in dashboards, some new, some old. We've got some nice charts here, slightly unusual one in that respect. We've got big number dials. We've got obviously the usual histograms. What I'd like to point out here is the spark lines, which is a really nice way of displaying a lot of information in a really compact form that's really easy to interpret, looking at the trend in that metric over time. Lots of ways you can use that with different metrics. We've got another bar chart here. This one's, I think, been a little bit customized. We're using some of the JavaScript coding that's possible with Yellowfin in the dashboard code mode, something you'd be able to do if you were inclined. We've got dashboard navigation around here showing how you can move between subtabs. So on this particular dashboard, it's got subtabs, analysis, and SLAs. You can have buttons which take you between them. So the more analysis just navigates us to this other tab. Again, we've got a donut chart, charts with a comparison line, and so on. Finally, on the SLA management at the end. Another feature which is just showing signals, which I think Stephen mentioned if I was awake, is another feature of Yellowfin being added into Yellowfin 9. It's a separate component which is available to add to your Yellowfin environment. It allows you to look at changes in trends as things happen over time. It's like having a team of data analysts going out and crawling over your data, looking for interesting patterns, and particularly where patterns have changed. So you can spot outliers, you can spot where something was increasing gradually and suddenly takes a step up, or the slope of the line increases, those sorts of things it can identify and report back to you. And then when it does, you can include those little reports. You can think of them themselves as almost like data tickets pop up in your dashboard, and you can click on those and look at the detail behind them. There's quite a lot of information in a signal. It provides a timeline here showing when the signal occurred. You can expand or contract the timeline to look at longer time slices and see, oh, actually there were some similar signals at different points in time, which might be interesting in itself. You can drill into each of those and look at the detail. You can see related metrics. So the one here is looking at total tickets. We can see tickets per day being another metric, and average time open for tickets, the resolution time. And we can look at correlated metrics and see how closely correlated they are. In this case, rather surprisingly correlated, probably telling us how this data was generated rather than anything more interesting and from reality. Signals designed for collaboration. You can add comments to the discussion here, and your colleagues can respond to those colleagues in a collaborative way. We can look at how significant the signals are and so on. Lots of interesting stuff. So we won't dwell on it too much at this point because that's just one of the many features that we've got in Yellowfin 9. But it's a really interesting thing for looking at the insight in your data that you might not otherwise uncover. So coming at the dashboard, obviously a dashboard gives you lots of information. You can explore it as you see fit. Your users can explore it as they see fit. But sometimes you want to have something a little bit more structured. You want to present it, and Stephen mentioned present as being one of the new features new to Yellowfin 9. So we click on that. We've got a presentation put together here, and the idea is it's a bit like a monthly board pack. So it's taking some of the same reports that you're seeing on your dashboard, but packaging them up. So presenting them in a fixed way through a series of slides. It's a PowerPoint metaphor, although it's not using PowerPoint. We can make that full screen. So the idea is you could take your laptop along, share it via, either online as we are now, or old-fashioned way using a Light Pro, if you still do that. You can see that this is just a title slide, all static. You can move across. This one's got some embedded content in it. These are live charts. You can see as you pop up on it, there's content that you would see if you're looking at it on the dashboard. So it's embedded content. We can look over here. We're seeing weekly trend charts, running them dynamically. Again, just giving you a flavor of what's here and what's possible. Again, we've got those spark lines that are interesting. interested in earlier. Which is all nice. What if, let's come out of that for a minute. What if we wanted to add another bit of information? We said, well, ask a question. One of the things that we've added in Yellowfin 9, which again Stephen mentioned, is guided natural language query. So this is really allowing your end users to do self-service of their own questions. So up to the bottom of the top here, we can ask a question. And this is the idea here is, unlike some of our competitors who allow free-form text and then have a stab at interpreting what that meant, or just look for similar reports that were similarly named reports that already exist, what we do is help users to construct well-formed questions. And the way this the project that added this feature went out and looked at the most commonly asked types of questions and then thought about how to structure those to make it easy for users to ask those questions in a way that we know exactly what they're trying to ask and can then provide the answers. So the first thing you do is decide which view you want to base this on. So Yellowfin semantic views sitting over the top of your data sources. In this case, we want the ITSM ticket support, which is what we're looking at. Let me drive in and start asking the question. I could start typing, but to be honest, generally speaking, it's easier to pick them from the list. And in this case, I'd like to do a top-end report. So I have a top 5. You get a choice whether you want to do a top 5 by value or by percentage of the total. In this case, we'll go by value. So it's top 5, the numbers of them. I'd like to know which business units are actually raising all the tickets that are taking up the time of my help desk. So I'm looking at top 5 by value, business units, ranking them on their total tickets raised. So I can go ahead and ask that question. Yellowfin converting that to SQL behind the scenes. When it gets the results back, it looks at the shape of the data set and says, what's the best way to present that in a chart? And this is what it's come up with, which I think you'd agree is a pretty good stab for that. If we wanted to further refine it, we could open up the chart in our chart builder and start editing it, changing axis labels, changing colors, all those good things that you can do with Yellowfin. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, that's exactly the chart that I want, so I'm going to save it, and then we'll look at how we can make use of it. So we'll take, to give it a title, and decide where to put it. We'll just put it in my folder for the moment. Save it away. So that's saved away. And having done that, we can then say, right, that deck that we're working on, actually, I think I'd really like to add that to my slides. So I'm just going to go in and say, I want to edit this presentation. You can see we've got slides here. I'm just going to add a new one onto the end. I could add a completely blank one, or I can duplicate the one that's there. In this case, I quite like the branding at the top, so I'm just going to duplicate it. And then slide 5, close that off. We'll delete everything below that. And that. We can change the, well, then we're going to drag in a report. So that report that I created, we can filter recent reports. Or we can navigate, because I can't remember where I put it. All reports. Advanced search. Examples. Well, something as always has, well, not as always, but something that's gone slightly wrong. I can't find it, but never mind. We'll embed a different report just to press on with the demo. What I want is something. That'll do. So we'll drag that report in. I probably didn't click save when I thought I did, but here's another report. I'm sure it looks very similar to what I had. Probably one I did earlier. So we've embedded our reports. That's our slide now. We can preview that and just check how that's going to look. See that we haven't changed the title yet. We can see that we're stepping through the slides. This is how it looks. We just added one on the end. All of this content is live in there. So what we can do is we can take it and we can actually run another feature called Assisted Insights, which is a Yellowfin 9 feature. And what's happening here is really quite smart. It's looking at the data, and again, based on the semantic view that we defined to allow users to write queries, we're also able, or Yellowfin is able behind the scenes to go away and run a whole bunch of queries, compare them, look at the results, and decide, and again, look for insight, which will then present back to us. So what it's doing is it's going away and looking at running several queries based on the dimensional structure of the data. And it's gone away and it's come up with, in this case, a rather boring looking chart because they're all rather closely correlated. But to give you a flavor of what it's done, it's looked at those things, it's looked at the metric, it's trying to explain it. So it's providing some description of the metric, some basic description of the data set. You're looking at things like the largest single decrease on percentage point basis, the sort of analytics that a data analyst would do to really just try and understand the data a bit better. But Yellowfin's done it for us behind the scenes. Could have picked a better metric, probably. That one was a bit unexciting. Maybe we'll go back and look at the, but you get the idea. What we did, very easily added it to our presentation. We can publish that if we wanted to, and store that away. Or we can go back and just re-ask our question very quickly. And I'll show you a little bit more information. So ITSM ticket support. What we did was our top high value. I'm not picking categories. We could do, but we're not going to. High value business units by total tickets. And again, we'll just run that quickly. This time we're going to save it. Make sure we actually save it. So I did, but didn't find it for some reason. And this time we'll go to that. We'll just open it up. You can see that it is a report that we've created. And it's a live one, so we can run that and we can actually do our auto analyze explain. This one will take a bit more time because this data set's a little bit more interesting than the other one. It's got more dimensions underneath it. So we'll see what Yellowfin makes of that. Typically takes, for this data set, just about 45 seconds to come up with the data, but you'll see this, it's a much richer results where it's got several charts, and we can just look a bit at what it's trying to do there. There were the two flavors. There's the explain, which looks at a single metric and tries to then tell you, well, what actually drives that metric, looking at the dimensions which contribute most to the value of that of the metric. So here we're seeing we've got total tickets, looking at by ticket type. It also looks at it by urgency. That's one of the other dimensions in this data set, and by impact. Looking at tickets by day, and see for each one it's choosing the most appropriate chart to make the data easy to consume, and providing narrative. All that narrative text is generated by Yellowfin itself. So hopefully you're getting an idea. I mean, you could go away and do all of those yourself, but it would take you a little bit of time to do that. Gives you a good head start. And if you wanted to, I think Stephen showed you the timeline feature. Well, it's possible to save these insights away to the what we call activity stream or timeline. And you can then share them with other users who can get the same insight and investigate it. And that's pretty much what I wanted to show you. That went a little bit quicker than I expected. The explain feature, while we're at it, just as we got a few extra moments, we had auto analyze. We showed you explain. We can also compare, and in that case, we just pick another value to compare with. Look at R&D. Compare those, and it's carrying out a similar process, assuming it works. So there it's looking at the two values that we've got and saying, well, how can you explain the differences between them? What are the underlying factors which are driving those differences? Looking variance by category, gives you textual explanation of what it thinks is happening in there. And again, you can see hopefully quite useful information. It's intended as a starting point, and it's not the final word on these things, but it's giving you information you then read through and decide what's important, and then it prompts further analysis, which, as you can see, using guided NLQ is generally pretty easy to take that extra step, ask questions, and navigate around your data to get that insight really quickly. And you don't have to ask your IT department to be writing a report every time you want one of those. That's something that you can genuinely have your business users doing. There is a little bit of work you need to do to configure that up front, make sure you understand the sort of terminology that your business users are going to use. You can make it easy for them by providing synonyms for some of the business metrics. So if you have some departments that call a metric one thing and others that have a different name for that, then you can accommodate that in the guided NLQ as well. And that was all I wanted to show today. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and we can.
That was awesome.
Return.
All right, thanks, Rob. So I think we're pretty much there in terms of what I want to take you through today. Just a quick reminder of the kind of the key things. What we've had a look at today is how you can use both BMC today with your on-prem and also into the future with even deeper integration with the new integration that we've done with Helix. And what this provides you with is a safe path to ensure that you have a low risk path moving forward, that you can keep your users happy with all the rich functionality and all the extra new functionality that is there, and that you can provide a level of data governance that is above and beyond anything you can do and provide today without it. And also kind of get access to all these additional benefits with the extra data sources, the new features, the action buttons, the whole present side of things, and the brilliant guided NLQ, which brings that kind of level of intelligence directly into the hands of your business users so they can make business decisions at a far quicker pace and provide the real value back to the business. Having a full-time DBA, data analyst available to every single member of staff using guided NLQ and smart reporting is a fantastic investment in terms of what you gain by upgrading your license. So I'm sure you're thinking, right, what do we need to do from here? It's pretty straightforward. Literally, you can scan the QR code that's on the screen here, or you can go to the website and have a look for the smart reporting page that we have there. We'll connect you up then with our internal teams here. We'll take you through an initial consultation, sort out the pricing information for you. It's a pretty straightforward pricing model that we have. We're doing something, a very special deal for existing BMC users to be able to help them move forward in a very simple way. That means that if you just want the basic OEM version that is there at the moment, it's kind of a cheaper price. And if you want to unlock all the additional features, then there's a slightly higher price. So you've got complete flexibility and choice about if you just want like for like, or if you want to benefit from all the additional features and capabilities. Things like presents are included with the basic OEM upgrade as well. So it really is, there is an awful lot in there just to kind of get you going, and a huge amount more to be able to take you forward as well. We've got a number of technical assets, and what we'll do is we'll connect you up with an established BMC, with your established BMC partner, whoever they are globally. They'll pair up with one of the Yellowfin partners around the world to be able to provide you best-in-class support as we get up and moving forward. In fact, a number of the BMC partners are also now coming on and becoming Yellowfin partners as well, because they've got a good expertise around smart reporting. They know the product well, so it's pretty straightforward for them to be able to pick up and help you move forward. So please speak either to your existing BMC partner or to our teams directly here, and then we'll make sure that we work together with you and your existing partners to move forward. So really, that is it. So thank you very much for joining us today. There's a couple of questions here about moving forward, and I think we've answered a couple of those already, so I think there's a need to go back over those. But if you do have any other questions, then please go ahead and just pop them into the chat, and we'll be able to get those answered. Equally, if you would rather, then please feel free just to drop a message through to us, and we'll be more than happy to connect out and answer your questions offline. Okay, so one question about using the BMC cloud and how is that different? How does it work? Okay, so basically with the BMC cloud, they've got their own hosted environment where they can set everything up and have that running. When you are running Yellowfin, you'll be you can either self-host that. We do have a partner who is able to provide a SaaS version of Yellowfin if you wanted to use that live from a cloud environment as well, or say you can self-host it, or you can still leave it on-prem. And if you do go on-prem, or if you do self-host, then the only thing that you need to do is just make sure that there is a mapping between your Yellowfin version, or where you've got your Yellowfin running, and the BMC cloud, and the BMC can open up a port with that secure connection to your fixed IP address only, allowing the data traffic to move between the two. And that can be the same for the API as well. So where the components are installed onto the BMC cloud, you can then call wherever you want to call. And sometimes that's done with port forwarding. Sometimes it's direct URL. But that will then call through, and you can remap that through to your Yellowfin instance. So we actually have one federal organization who have that set up and running all behind their firewall quite happily through secure environments. So it's well tried and tested and very easy to set up and work. Running it from a cloud environment where you're quite happy to have your users being able to log in from anywhere around the world into your Yellowfin instance is really, really easy. You don't need to go through quite so many hoops, but either way around, it is very possible and easy to do. You just need to raise a support ticket with the BMC team to set up the port forwarding that's required, and once that's done, everything just gets off and runs quite happily. Even with SSL and everything enabled, you can do all that. Okay. All right, I can't see any other questions that we haven't kind of covered going through the session today. So I think it just leaves us to say thank you very much for joining us. We are here if you have any further questions and want to connect up to move forward with anything. And yeah, happy coding. Good luck with all your BMC and Helix work through the future. And we look forward to hearing from you and getting you moving forward with Yellowfin. So thanks very much for joining us, everyone. Goodbye.